Before starting the video, I would like to thank everyone who decided to invest in this channel. After the outstanding support of the latest F1 content, I've decided to sacrifice the remaining life points of my sanity into the F1 posting. This is the first video of a series covering the FCO, because we need to milk this content to get our first YouTube check. A check that will go to strictly necessary corporate expenses, like old school RuneScape bonds, cans of brand sardine, an energy drink. Sit back, here's the classified story of Milton Keynes and the cursed car. Before the car seats were a thing, the Milton Keynes factory was already built over a corporate graveyard. In 2004, the energy drink lords bought the facility for $1 American, inheriting the wandering spirits of dozens of abandoned Jaguar F1 cars, resentful metal souls, Ford Ghosn engines that died in agony, and chassis that rust prematurely because of Ford budget cuts toward clear coat treatment. That resentment soaked into the walls. Milton Keynes was already cursed, extreme and radical. Red flags that any sentient being wouldn't ignore. Except the Red Bull brand. They were known for doing impossible stuff. Dealing with ghosts and the Scooby-Doo gang was nothing for them. On paper, the young Red Bull cartel had all the cars to achieve motorsport success. They had assembled an A-team. Adrian Newey, an aerospace engineer famous for building aerodynamic vacuum cleaners for McLaren. A young Christian Horner, operating safely in an era before WhatsApp. And the Flying Scotsman, David Coulthard, the one who rode alongside the coldest driver beside Kimi Raikkonen, Mika Hakkinen, during one of the most successful McLaren eras. The first years were of development, reverse engineering the dominant teams, and dealing with the aging technology left by the previous owners. Of course, no success, only failure. Fast forward to the winter of 2006. Tired of being the punching bag of the grid, the cartel decided to gamble on the future. They stopped buying customer Ferrari engines and signed with Renault. Not like they had a choice, since Mercedes only sold stuff to McLaren and Ferrari only gave the daily mortadella to customers, while they kept the jamon serrano for themselves. With the engine on deck and an instruction manual in French, they needed to find the translation on the official Clio fan forum. Suddenly, a post appeared about an ex-Nissan employee releasing the Ghosn files as a dead man switch for a deal that went wrong. The Red Bull team was quick to grab those files. They contained documented data of failed emission tests, classified reports of Nissan vehicles going rogue. Some were external, and others were infinity. But behind those files, there was one that caught the team attention. Confidential, Project Benisakura. Originally, it was a software meant to bypass emission tests without making drastic hardware changes, simply by downloading more RAM into the vehicle's ECUs and reprogramming them for the destination country. Since Nissan and Renault were legally stepbrothers, the Red Bull engineers realized this dark tech could be applied to their F1 engines. They decided to swipe the French Eurodance and reprogram the ECUs entirely in Dave Rogers' Eurobeat to unlock the true potential of the alliance. The result was a ruthless piece of machinery, fueled by the accumulated anger of wandering Jaguars. The binary code, now rewritten in cursive hiragana, stripped the French TH of all its safety features, leaving behind a cold, efficient, and parasitic heart. The engine was untamable, but instead of containing it, they used this fury to their advantage. The aerospace engineer stepped in and said, "Let me cook." He put his pencil on a blank sheet of paper and started making lines. I cannot describe the following process. What happened on the blank sheet of paper is still redacted under the official secret act of the Kingdom of Milton Keynes, but the result was extremely graphic. It was made of carbon fiber, it was evil, and it was 100% legal. The blown floor was born, taking advantage of the outgoing fury from the exhaust. Using pure black magic, they redirected the wind toward the floor, doing the impossible, transforming understeer into oversteer, with massive full throttle control. Adrian Newey has done it again. Without meaning to, he had designed another aerodynamic vacuum cleaner, but this time, it was a leaf blower too. To test this anomaly, they used David Coulthard, a strict analog veteran. During the test run, the telemetry was completely psychotic. Coulthard was breaking track records against his will. The car had become parasitic, which fed on his nervous system, demanding. Terrified, the Scotsman killed the engine in the pit lane, handing his resignation and refused to elaborate further.
No comments?
The cartel finally understood the memo. The field seat was no longer fit for a standard human hardware. With Coulthard fleeing for his sanity, the parasitic open-wheeler sat dormant in the Milton Keynes garage. The cartel had built the ultimate weapon, but no human with a standard nervous system could pilot it without suffering a psychological collapse. That's when Helmut Marko, the infamous Senator Palpatine of the Driver Academy, opened a highly classified file. Marko knew they didn't need to hire a driver. They just needed to install a compatible processor. Deep in the junior categories, corporate radars detected an anomaly. A young German built of pure silicon, bearing the mark of the Kaiser.
Perfect.
But how that menace named Sebastian Vettel meshed with the car, and how that synchronization absolutely destroyed the psyche of his teammate Mark Webber, is an audit we will declassify in our next report. Sebastian Vettel, on the course of the field seat. Thank you for your attention. Have a nice day.